Hello, thoughtful Libra. As we move through August 12 and 13, this reading carries a quieter kind of movement, the kind you may notice first as a feeling before you can put it into words. There may be something you already understand deep down, yet you have been weighing every possible outcome, every person's feelings, and every reason to wait before trusting yourself. Take what resonates and leave what does not, because your life remains yours to choose, and no reading can take that choice away from you. For these 2 days, pay close attention to the way your emotions respond to jealousy, resentment, disappointment, or the urge to make someone understand your side. Protecting your peace does not mean pretending you are unaffected. It means deciding what deserves your energy and what does not. The 2 Swords and 5 of Cups speak to a place where too many possibilities can become exhausting, especially when you can see the truth from several different angles at once. You may understand why someone acted the way they did and still recognize that their choice did not feel right for you. This is where your clarity begins to matter more than your ability to keep everything comfortable. Sometimes the hardest decision is not choosing between 2 paths, but admitting that you have been standing between them because you are afraid someone will be disappointed by the direction you choose. Ask yourself whether you are preserving something because it still nourishes you, or simply because changing it would disturb the balance you have worked so hard to maintain. The lesson here is simple but deep. The way you handle one small conversation can reveal how honestly you are treating yourself everywhere else. The energy of temperance invites you to slow down enough to hear what your intuition has been saying beneath all that mental noise. You may notice a phrase in an ordinary conversation, a thought that keeps returning, a dream that lingers after waking, or a small moment that causes you to pause and reconsider something. You do not have to decide that every coincidence is a message. Simply allow these moments to become mirrors, showing you what your attention naturally returns to. Rather than reacting immediately to an external trigger, give yourself enough space to understand what the moment is actually touching inside you. Even something minor, like an irritating exchange on the road, an uncomfortable comment at work, or a piece of gossip you were never meant to carry, can become an opportunity to practice a different response. You do not have to absorb every mood around you, and you certainly do not have to restore harmony every time someone else creates tension. Gratitude can help you return to yourself, but so can a healthy boundary, a thoughtful pause, or the simple decision not to explain yourself any further. Your emotional reactions are not signs that you have failed. They are information, showing you where something still needs understanding, care, or release. The Emperor and Page of Swords can be read here, not as a demand for control, but as an invitation to develop inner structure. Real confidence is not having the perfect answer or making everyone agree with you. It is trusting that you can make a thoughtful choice and adjust if you learn something new. Simplify what has become unnecessarily complicated and release the responsibility for things that were never yours to carry. When you stop spending so much energy maintaining appearances, you create room for relationships, work, and personal goals to become more honest and sustainable. The Moon and 4 of Swords then bring your attention inward. Some of the hesitation you feel may come from an old belief that says choosing yourself is selfish. Speaking honestly will create conflict, or changing direction means you have somehow failed. Notice those thoughts without immediately accepting them as truth. Fear can sound remarkably reasonable when it has been repeated for a long time, but you are allowed to question the stories that once helped you feel safe. Give yourself permission to rest, reflect, and separate what you genuinely want from what you have learned to want in order to keep the peace. And beneath all of this is the Queen of Wands, carrying a warmer kind of confidence. The strength does not need to dominate a room. It comes from being fully present in your own life without shrinking to make other people more comfortable. You can be considerate without abandoning your boundaries, compassionate without carrying everyone's emotions, and open-hearted without ignoring what your instincts are telling you. Let that become the quiet promise you carry through August 12 and 13. I believe in the person I am becoming, and I am learning to choose her with honesty. Write that down if it speaks to you. Say it aloud when doubt begins filling the space again, and let the words remind you that growth does not always arrive as a dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it is simply the moment you stop arguing with what you already know, breathe a little deeper, and make one clear choice that brings you closer to the life that actually feels like yours. As you move through August 12 and 13, let yourself notice the quieter wisdom beneath everything you have been carrying. You are being reminded that kindness can remain part of you without requiring you to absorb every difficult emotion that crosses your path. Someone else's hurt may explain the way they behave, but it does not mean you have to make their pain your responsibility. You can meet people with warmth while still protecting the part of yourself that needs peace, and that distinction may become more important than you realize. When you refuse to be pulled into resentment, gossip, or unnecessary conflict, you are not simply keeping the peace for everyone else. You are returning to your own center. For Libra, real harmony is not the absence of tension, because sometimes avoiding tension only allows something important to remain unspoken. It is the ability to stay compassionate without abandoning your boundaries, and to walk away from an argument without feeling that you have lost. Let these 2 days remind you that your strength can be quiet, deliberate, and deeply rooted. There is also a feeling of renewal around you, especially in the spaces where you share your life with family and close friends. Relationships may begin to feel warmer when you stop trying to manage every emotional current and simply allow people to meet you honestly. If there is a celebration, gathering, birthday, graduation, wedding, or another meaningful moment involving someone close to you, allow yourself to be present for it rather than worrying about making everything perfect. Sometimes joy returns through very ordinary moments, a familiar laugh across the room, an old story told again, or the simple feeling that you can breathe more freely around the people you love. Something within you is also loosening. The old disappointments, strained connections, and versions of yourself that were built around survival do not have to keep shaping every decision you make. The tower reversed can be understood here as the slow rebuilding that follows upheaval, when you realize that stability does not mean recreating the past exactly as it was. It means creating something that can hold the person you have become. What once felt like a complete disruption may now reveal itself as the moment that taught you what you could no longer accept. And this is where your confidence begins to look different. You do not need to prove that you are stronger than anyone else, and you do not need to make yourself untouchable. Your strength is in knowing what deserves access to your energy and what does not. The chariot becomes less about racing toward a prize and more about choosing your direction with both hands steady on the wheel, allowing your past experiences and your future hopes to inform you without either one controlling you. You may notice this shift touching your work, your finances, or a project that once felt difficult to organize. Progress does not have to arrive as one dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it begins when you stop dividing your attention between too many expectations and decide what truly matters. Instead of measuring your success by how quickly everything changes, pay attention to whether your choices are bringing you closer to stability, self-respect, and a life that feels more honest. The path may become clearer when you stop trying to satisfy every possible version of what others expect from you. In love, this same movement becomes especially meaningful. Someone may be thinking about you, reaching for a way to understand where they stand with you, or simply noticing the difference in how you carry yourself now. But rather than waiting for another person to validate the direction of your heart, notice whether the connection offers genuine reciprocity. You deserve relationships where understanding moves in both directions, where you are not always the one adjusting, explaining, forgiving, or making the emotional space comfortable for everyone else. For these 2 days, let a soft blue or muted rose become a simple visual reminder of that intention. If it speaks to you not as a promise of luck, but as a symbol of calm, openness, and balance, let the image of an open doorway stay with you as well. Not because something outside you is guaranteed to appear, but because you are becoming more willing to recognize which doors still belong to your future. There is something powerful about realizing that peace does not always arrive when circumstances change. Sometimes it begins when you finally stop abandoning yourself to keep everything else in balance. Libra, the movement around you is becoming steadier now, And the Empress brings a beautiful reminder that growth does not always have to arrive through force or struggle. Her presence speaks of nourishment, comfort, creativity, self-respect, and the kind of security that allows your nervous system to finally exhale. You may find yourself thinking differently about what makes a home feel like a sanctuary, what makes a relationship feel emotionally safe, and what kind of life actually gives something back to you instead of constantly asking something from you. There can also be encouraging developments around money, family, property, or resources. But the deeper message is learning to recognize abundance not only by what enters your hands, but by what begins to feel healthier and more sustainable in your life. The Empress also carries the symbolism of something quietly becoming alive beneath the surface. For some of you, that may speak to creativity, a personal project, a new way of living, or the desire to nurture something that has been waiting for your attention. For others, it may bring the longing for greater closeness, family connection, or a more peaceful relationship with your own body and sense of self. Whatever you are tending now deserves patience and care, rather than constant pressure to prove that it is growing quickly, because some of the most meaningful changes begin like roots beneath the soil, invisible for a while before they become impossible to miss. In Masses of Love, the Two of Cups shifts the focus away from a fantasy of someone simply arriving to rescue the story and towards something much more meaningful, mutual recognition. There may be someone who has been reflecting on their feelings, becoming more honest with themselves, or quietly considering whether they are ready to meet you with greater openness. That could eventually show itself through a message, a conversation, an unexpected meeting, or a small gesture that reveals more than the person initially intended. But what matters most is not how dramatic the gesture becomes. What matters is whether both people are willing to step toward one another without asking one person to carry the entire emotional weight of the connection. If someone from your past returns, or if a new connection begins to develop, let yourself observe rather than immediately assigning a destiny to it. Ask whether you feel seen when you are with this person, whether your needs are given room beside theirs, and whether you can speak honestly without worrying that honesty will disturb the entire relationship. Libra, harmony is not the same as silence, and love is not supposed to require you to become smaller, quieter, or endlessly accommodating. A relationship can be gentle and still have boundaries. It can be romantic and still ask both people to take responsibility for the emotional space they share. The Emperor now takes on a different meaning for you. Rather than representing dominance, status, or the need to stand above everyone else, this energy can speak to inner structure, the ability to know your worth without constantly asking the outside world to confirm it. In your professional life, that may look like becoming more deliberate about your goals, taking your abilities seriously, negotiating with greater confidence, or allowing your work to speak for itself instead of over-explaining every decision. Recognition can come through consistency, reliability, thoughtful leadership, and your ability to work with others without losing your own standards. If you have been considering a promotion, a business idea, a contract, a new professional direction, or a project that requires greater commitment, these 2 days can be useful for examining what you actually want from that next step. You do not need to chase every opportunity simply because it looks impressive from the outside. Ask whether it supports the life you are trying to build, whether it respects your values, and whether the success it offers would genuinely feel good to live with. Sometimes the most mature career decision is not the one that gives you the biggest title, but the one that gives you greater alignment between your work, your time, and your sense of self. The Magician adds another important layer. You may already have more resources than you have been giving yourself credit for. Your skills, experience, relationships, creativity, judgment, and ability to communicate are all tools you can use, but they work best when you stop scattering your attention across every possibility. You do not have to force an outcome or convince the universe to obey a command. Instead, bring your intention into the choices you can actually make. Say clearly what you want, notice what is realistically available to you, and then allow your actions to become consistent with the person you are trying to become. Your health deserves that same kind of thoughtful attention. Rather than waiting for your body to demand care through exhaustion or discomfort, use this period to become more curious about what genuinely supports you. That could mean learning more about nutrition, improving your routines, paying attention to sleep and stress, or speaking with a qualified healthcare professional about appropriate checkups or concerns you have been postponing. You do not need to transform your entire lifestyle overnight. Small, sustainable choices often create a much stronger foundation than dramatic promises that disappear when life becomes busy. The important thing is to stop treating your body as something you only notice when it is asking for help. Your physical well-being is part of the life you are trying to create, and caring for it can become an expression of self-respect rather than another obligation on an already crowded list. Give yourself permission to improve gradually, to learn what works for you, and to recognize that taking care of yourself is not selfish simply because other people also need your attention. At work, however, keep your discernment close. There may be a colleague whose attitude feels uncertain, competitive, suspicious, or simply difficult to read, and the healthiest response is not to assume the worst or become pulled into workplace politics. Stay professional, keep your attention on what you're responsible for, and be thoughtful about who has earned access to unfinished plans, private concerns, or ambitions that are still taking shape. You do not have to defend yourself against every rumor, and you do not need to prove your value by participating in every conversation happening around you. If you are hoping for recognition or considering a promotion, speak with the people who genuinely have a role in that decision rather than turning your aspirations into public conversation. This is not about becoming secretive or distrustful. It is about understanding that not every relationship belongs in the same circle of confidence. Libra, your natural ability to see different perspectives can make you an excellent collaborator. But remember that collaboration does not mean giving everyone equal access to your plans. There is wisdom in knowing when to share, when to listen, and when to let the quality of your work quietly establish your credibility. And if you are searching for work, stay curious rather than discouraged. Look at what you already know, but also notice where an additional skill, course, or different direction could complement your existing strengths and give you more choices. You do not have to rush simply because other people seem to be moving faster. Your progress can come through careful observation, meaningful preparation, and a clearer understanding of what kind of working life actually suits you. As August 12 and 13 unfold, that desire to move forward may become stronger, not because you need to outrun where you have been, but because you are beginning to see more clearly what is worth moving toward. When it comes to finances, Libra, the energy around security begins to feel less restrictive and more spacious across August 12 and 13. After periods when you may have felt as though every financial decision required another calculation, another compromise, or another reason to wait, you may begin to see where greater stability can actually be created. This does not have to arrive through one dramatic stroke of luck. It can begin with a clear understanding of what you have, what you need, and where your resources are quietly being drained. Think of it less as a locked door suddenly flying open and more as realizing that you have several keys already in your possession. You simply have to decide which door is worth opening. There may be encouraging developments connected with money, family, property, previous efforts, or something you have been patiently building. A payment could arrive, an investment may begin to make more sense, or a project could show signs that your effort is beginning to translate into something tangible. But the more important financial lesson for you is discernment. Libra, you do not need to make a decision simply because an opportunity looks attractive from the outside, and you do not need to spend simply because spending creates a temporary feeling of comfort or control. Let your choices serve the life you actually want to live. This is a good time to look at where your money is going and ask whether your spending reflects your priorities or simply responds to whatever emotion happens to be strongest in the moment. Security is not about holding on to everything out of fear, just as abundance is not about constantly reaching for more. It is about creating enough steadiness that you can breathe, plan, and make choices without feeling as though every unexpected expense could pull the ground out from beneath you. The patience you have developed through earlier challenges can become one of your greatest financial strengths now, because thoughtful decisions tend to create foundations that last longer than impulsive ones. There may also be a connection between money and home that deserves your attention. Perhaps you are thinking about a property matter, supporting someone in your family, improving your living space, or simply wanting your home to feel more secure and peaceful. Whatever form it takes, let financial progress support your sense of well-being rather than becoming another measure of your worth. You are allowed to want comfort without needing to prove anything to anyone, and you are allowed to build slowly if that is what allows you to remain grounded. In matters of the heart, be especially mindful of how you speak during these 2 days. You may find yourself noticing things more sharply, and when something feels unresolved, there can be a temptation to say everything at once simply because you want the uncertainty to disappear. But honesty becomes much more powerful when it is paired with timing, empathy, and awareness of what the other person is actually ready to hear. Before you speak, ask yourself whether you are trying to create understanding or simply trying to release the pressure you have been carrying. Your natural ability to see several sides of a situation can help you here, but there is another side to that gift. Sometimes you understand another person's perspective so well that you begin explaining away your own feelings. You may tell yourself why they behaved that way, why they are under pressure, why they did not mean it, or why now is not the right moment to bring something up. Understanding someone does not require you to erase your own experience. You can hold compassion for another person and still say quietly and clearly, "This does not work for me." If you are single, resist the temptation to reshape yourself around whatever seems desirable at the moment. Trends change, preferences change, and the qualities that attract attention today may not be the qualities that create a fulfilling relationship tomorrow. The more honestly you understand yourself, the easier it becomes to recognize people who appreciate the real person in front of them, rather than the version you created to be easier to love. Your growth is not about becoming more acceptable to everyone. It is about becoming more comfortable with what is genuinely yours. If you are getting to know someone and you notice that you are constantly editing yourself around them, pay attention. If you feel judged for your personality, your values, your pace, or the way you see the world, do not immediately assume that you simply need to try harder. There is a difference between two people learning each other's differences and one person quietly trying to redesign the other. Healthy connection leaves room for curiosity, disagreement, and individuality. You should be able to bring your whole self into the relationship without feeling as though every honest quality needs to be softened before it will be accepted. And this is where reciprocity becomes essential for you, Libra. You are capable of making adjustments, finding common ground, and smoothing rough edges. But a relationship cannot remain healthy if only one person is constantly doing the adjusting. Ask yourself whether you are meeting each other in the middle, or whether you have become so accustomed to maintaining harmony that you no longer notice how much of yourself you are giving away to create it. Real peace does not require one person to disappear inside the relationship. Family energy can also begin to soften. After periods of tension, distance, or simply everyone being caught up in their own responsibilities, there may be more room for warmth, conversation, and shared moments that remind you why these connections matter. A gathering, celebration, achievement, birthday, graduation, wedding, or another meaningful family occasion can create an opportunity to reconnect, but you do not have to make the event perfect for everyone. Let yourself enjoy the laughter, the familiar stories, the small traditions, and even the imperfect moments that make a gathering feel real. There may also be news that brings people closer, perhaps connected with an achievement, a personal milestone, a change in the household, or something that gives everyone a reason to feel proud together. What matters most is not the size of the announcement, but the emotional movement it creates. Sometimes one piece of good news gives a family permission to breathe again after a difficult period. Sometimes simply sitting around the same table without needing to solve anything can begin repairing a distance that words alone could not reach. Your role within the family may be changing as well. You can still be someone people trust, someone who knows how to listen, someone who can bring a little calm into a complicated moment, but you do not have to become the emotional center of every situation. Let other people carry their share of the responsibility for maintaining connection. You can offer advice without taking ownership of another person's choices, and you can support someone without absorbing the consequences of every decision they make. This is an important part of your own growth. The resilience you have developed through difficult experiences can inspire the people around you, but inspiration does not require you to appear endlessly composed. There is strength in being honest about what you need, in asking for support when you need it, and in allowing family members to see that you are a person with limits as well as compassion. That kind of authenticity can create a deeper form of closeness, because people are no longer relating to an idealized version of you who always knows how to keep everything peaceful. As August 12 and 13 unfold, let your home become more than a place where everyone gathers. Let it become a reflection of the emotional life you are trying to build. Security can come through financial steadiness, but it can also come through a quieter atmosphere, clearer boundaries, honest conversations, and the knowledge that you do not have to perform peace in order to experience it. The more you allow relationships to become mutual rather than carefully managed, the more natural warmth can return. And somewhere within that softer atmosphere, you may begin to recognize that the life you have been trying so hard to balance can also be a life that genuinely supports you. When it comes to your energy, Libra, August 12 and 13 can feel mentally and emotionally active, with a strong desire to do something meaningful with all the thoughts and possibilities moving through you. You may find yourself wanting to improve your home, organize your finances, learn something new, reconnect with someone, or simply understand yourself a little better. Instead of scattering that energy across everything that asks for your attention, choose a few things that genuinely matter and give them your presence. Your ability to connect with people can also become an important source of support, especially when you allow relationships to encourage your growth rather than becoming another place where you feel responsible for keeping everything comfortable. One quality worth cultivating is empathy, something you naturally understand, even when it sometimes becomes difficult to manage. You can notice subtle changes in someone's voice, sense when a person is uncomfortable, and understand perspectives that other people may completely overlook. That sensitivity can make you a thoughtful friend, partner, family member, and colleague. But remember that understanding another person's feelings does not automatically make them yours to carry. Offer kindness where it is needed, give advice when it is welcomed, and let people remain responsible for their own choices. Your compassion becomes healthier when it includes compassion for yourself. There is also a quieter shadow to watch for, becoming too concerned with how you are being perceived. Libra can sometimes spend so much energy reading the room that the room begins to feel more important than the person standing inside it. You may catch yourself wondering whether everyone is comfortable, whether someone misunderstood you, or whether you should change your behavior to create a smoother atmosphere. Step back when that happens. You are one person among many, and everyone is experiencing life through a different history, set of values, and emotional lens. So you do not need to make every reaction around you agree with your own. This is also why judgment deserves some attention. What feels obvious or reasonable to you may feel completely different to someone else, and that does not automatically make either person wrong. You can disagree without turning the difference into a character judgment, and you can recognize that another person's choices belong to their story, even when you would never make the same ones. At the same time, understanding differences does not mean accepting behavior that repeatedly crosses your boundaries. Growth for you is learning to hold both truths at once. People are allowed to be different, and you are allowed to decide what feels healthy for you. You may also find yourself drawn toward a gathering, invitation, or social situation during these 2 days. If you are spending time with people you already know and trust, it can be a lovely opportunity to reconnect, laugh, and let yourself enjoy the lighter side of life. With people you barely know, however, give yourself permission to observe before deciding what you think of them. First impressions can be distorted in both directions, and someone may misunderstand your quietness as distance while you mistake their nervousness for coldness. There is no need to force familiarity simply because you have been invited into the same space. If the atmosphere feels awkward, let it be awkward for a moment instead of rushing to repair it. You do not have to become instantly understood, and you do not have to understand everyone instantly either. Allow relationships to reveal themselves gradually, because sometimes the most accurate impression is the one that forms after the pressure to impress or please has disappeared. For students, the message is especially practical. If you want a different result, Something about your approach has to change. Repeating the same study routine while hoping the outcome will somehow improve only creates more frustration. So look honestly at what is working and what is not. Change the environment, adjust how you review material, reduce distractions, ask for help when you need it, or experiment with a method that engages your attention more effectively. If an important period of study is approaching, take your responsibilities seriously. But do not confuse seriousness with exhausting yourself until you cannot absorb anything. The goal is not to study endlessly while resenting every minute of it. Find a reason to care about what you are learning, even if that reason is simply the future freedom that knowledge can give you. Progress often becomes easier when effort has meaning behind it, and the same principle applies far beyond school. You may begin noticing that certain things become more manageable once you stop waiting for motivation to appear and instead create a structure that makes action easier. As for compatibility, focus less on which sign is supposed to be perfect for you and more on the qualities that allow a relationship to breathe. You tend to thrive around people who communicate honestly without creating unnecessary conflict, who can disagree without turning every difference into a battle, and who understand that closeness does not require constant access to each other's emotions. Air signs may naturally stimulate your curiosity and conversation, while emotionally grounded people can remind you that peace does not always need to be analyzed before it can be felt. What matters most is reciprocity, someone who listens as carefully as you listen, adjusts when adjustment is needed, and leaves room for you to remain fully yourself. Across August 12 and 13, let your energy become more intentional rather than simply more intense. You do not need to fill every hour, answer every message, attend every gathering, or solve every uncertainty that appears in front of you. Choose what deserves your attention. Protect the relationships that feel mutual and allow unfamiliar situations to unfold without immediately deciding what they mean. The more comfortably you stand in your own perspective, the easier it becomes to meet other people without losing yourself in theirs.